Okay, so hello there. I'm going to show you what I have learned about Roman villas and a little bit more about how they were constructed. I also built my own Roman villa in this world, and I am very excited to show you. On the way there, I'm going to recap a little bit about our trip. So we went to Italy, and we spent 2 weeks exploring various Roman things. Things we explored include the Colosseum, the Forum, both the Imperial and Roman Forum, Pompeii, Herculaneum, and Ostia. Those were a few of the highlights. Some other things we saw include the Villa of Mysteries, Trajan's Column, and the Villa Regina. The Villa Regina is placed roughly just outside of ancient Pompeii, and we got to see it on the same visit. I think it was actually their second day there. Second day at Pompeii. I have built a recreation of the Villa Regina and filled it with rooms that are not exactly accurate, but do a great job at showing different rooms of the villa. So, I have arrived. I've also prepared this book with some information in it. I've designed it to be kind of like a guidebook, because this is a world I plan to play with my brothers with, and I'd like for them to learn as well. So, here's a table of contents. We're going to start with the introduction. It was excavated, the Villa Regina was excavated in 1977, and it was more of a modest farmhouse than a luxurious estate. Some things that were found inside that I found interesting was a wine press, a pig that was plaster casted, and 18 dolia, which were probably for holding wine from the wine press. Okay, so there is a disclaimer. None of these rooms are where they would be in the real Villa Regina. I am going to make sure this is emphasized. I might copy the build at some point and build a more accurate one, but this is much better for teaching people about villas. Okay, so let's start the tour. Room 1, storage. This room was likely used to store various agricultural equipment and products, as well as anything else that this villa would have needed or produced. The various amphorae that the Romans used would likely be stored in rooms like this. So the Roman pots were actually called amphorae and had spiky bottoms. I have the slight inability to make spiky bottom pots, so this is the closest I could get. But I think it works really well. Some of the pots would be filled with stuff, as listed in this guidebook. And there's more than one of these storage rooms across this villa. Room 2. A room inspired by a tablinum. The real Villa Regina would not have had a tablinum. It is too small. But I included it anyway to teach people on more than cubiculums, which are bedrooms. These rooms worked like offices where the Dominus would receive his clients. I kept reading that as Dominius. So, I decided to kind of model some wooded furniture, as we don't really know what a lot of Roman furniture would look like. So I did this. Anyway, I think room 3 is the Colina. This is a pretty cool room. This is the kitchen. It was, let's see what the book says. The Roman kitchen was usually indicated by the presence of a large spherical oven-like structure when excavated. Various goods would be placed inside the oven to be baked, where they would then be sold at a shop or stored and eaten at a later date. These pots, like wheat and the bread products, if they needed to be stored, would probably be put in pots like this and then put in one of the storerooms. Anyway, let's go inside the oven. Oh, look at all the bread. The bread would be placed along the walls of the oven thing. I forget its exact name, but along the walls of the oven thing to bake over time. The rooms would also end up rather full of, like, smoke, as there was not very good ventilation at the time. Leading to, these rooms generally being a little bit more secluded from important areas. But not too secluded to not get, the stuff removed as easily. The next room is up here. Oh, here's another one of the storage rooms. Got a little bit of functional storage. You may have noticed that there are a lot of windows. I guess I could cover that right now. At the end of this book is a little bit of additional info on lighting. Roman villas would usually be built with a large number of windows, as the oil lamps that they had in ancient Rome were fairly expensive to use for long periods of time, as the oil was less generally available. Unfortunately, because this is Minecraft and I need to be able to see better, I have placed these torch builds all across the structure, despite their relative inaccuracy, to make it so I can see. So here's room 4. This is a cubiculum. So this cubiculum example contains one larger bed, many smaller beds, and a cabinet-like wooden furniture piece. One thing that is very important is that much of the Roman furniture the Romans used is unknown, as most wood has decayed in the last 2,000 years. There are some exceptions, but we can get to that in a little bit. Please ignore the fact that this cupboard has a portal to the nether inside it. So the next room would be another cubiculum, I think. Yep, it's this one. Oh, we'll get to this room later. Would be a cubiculum. This is another example of a cubiculum. This cubiculum contains a larger bed and a shelf for literature. Romans that had extra money and were fairly wealthy likely enjoyed reading and writing literature in their free time, but because the same reasons as why we don't have a bunch of Roman furniture, we don't have a lot of Roman literature as well. And this one doesn't really have the same number of exceptions. Did I skip a room? Yes. So there's a third cubiculum. This one is modeled more by like serf, or I think serf. It's basically slave quarters, because they don't have fancy beds. We do have, but as I was mentioning earlier, we do have some examples of Roman wooden furniture, because in places like Pompeii and Herculaneum, the furniture was carbonized during Mount Vesuvius' eruption, preserving it for us to see. Additionally, also burying it beneath the ground to better preserve it from outside weathering as well. The triclinium is the Roman dining room. It's called a triclinium because there are 3 sides of a couch-like place where you would lay. Most Roman villas contained beautiful hand-painted frescoes on many of their walls, many of which we can still see today. The floor mosaics are also very intricate, and they were preserved well. The floor mosaics also had rather long tiles that led to them being quite sturdy as well. It's like they were 3 times as deep into the ground as they were sized on the surface, or something extreme like that. They were very nice and very intricate, very expensive. I did my best to recreate them with what Minecraft had, and I think I did a pretty good job with the glazed terracotta. So the next room isn't really a room, but it's like this central garden. A large amount of Roman villas contained indoor gardens like this one, many of which additionally contain marble sculptures. These are mainly taken to museums and replaced with fakes, as the originals would usually degrade over time. This is where the 18 dolia would be in the actual villa. Also, because the marble statues we see today are all white, because the paint has decayed, we usually picture them as all white. But they'd actually be more accurately colored, kind of like these mob heads I'm using as stand-ins. You may have noticed that there are 2 fenced-off rooms. This is the first one. This one is going to be, once it's completed, a barn and threshing area, because animals would likely have been stored inside this barn area overnight to protect them from predators, and they would be freed and let outside to graze during the day. This is also the room where grain would be threshed to be prepped for cooking. and I'm excited to build that when I get around to it. The second of the unfinished rooms is the big one, like, the really big one. This room, it would be the wine press, would be like the wine distillery room. It would contain a wine press area where the grapes would be trodden, processed, and turned into wine. I currently lack the ability to recreate this in Minecraft due to lack of blocks, but I am very excited to get around to building this as soon as possible, because when I get around to building the accurate depiction of this villa, if I ever do, I'm going to need to basically have it produce wine, which is going to be exciting. Okay, some parting notes. A lot of Roman villas would be built with like plaster along the sides, and there would be more than just shutters for the windows. Some of them would be like barred shut, as you can see with some examples in Pompeii. Due to Minecraft's limited block palette and scale, I wasn't able to create any wall frescoes. But if I ever decide to build more of these, I would likely make a resource pack to add some in place of paintings. So here's a quick recap of all the rooms we went through in backwards order: the garden, the triclinium, cubiculum number 3, cubiculum number 2, and there's a third one as well, cubiculum number 1. 2 of these are modeled more after servant quarters, as mentioned before, with the one on the main level being the one modeled after a more wealthy Roman's bedroom. And then we have the Colina, which we actually do plan to kind of recreate a Pompeii-style shop for some event in the future in the SCA, which is really exciting, and I'm probably going to end up doing a lot of modeling to make those. More Roman education. Next we have the Tablinium-like room, and finally the storage room. So I hope you enjoyed the tour of my Roman villa, as I spent a lot of time building it, and do plan to improve it over time as I get more ideas. So, bye-bye!